the quality of the car is going to improve as you spend more money. So let's say you spend around 6 lakh rupees, you get a base variant of Maruti Swift, which is decent quality and affordable price. You spend a bit more, you get something like a Polo or a Desire. You spend a bit more, you get something like a Maruti Brezza. But if you spend around 12 lakh rupees, what you get is Hyundai Creta. So now the difference between a 6 lakh rupee car and a 12 lakh rupee car is this much. But then comes a used second-hand car, which is Maruti S-cross, which will cost you around 7 to 8 lakh rupees. Now that will give you the quality of Hyundai Creta, but at this price point. So this is my case for why people shouldn't be sleeping on Maruti S-cross. The car behind me is a used 2016 Maruti Suzuki S-cross. Now since we are a population of 1.3 billion people that takes decisions primarily based on how much a commodity costs, in this case how much a car costs, therefore this Zeta version is going to be compared and analyzed with cars at a very particular price point. A used second-hand S-cross can be found from somewhere like 6.5 lakhs to 8.5 lakhs. Does buying a used 2016 S-cross make sense in 2020? Let's just find out. Now, before the launch of Maruti Suzuki S-cross in 2015, their main interest and main focus was and has always been into small hatchbacks and affordable sedans, except the Vitara and the Kizashi. And their portfolio of cars is testament to that. However, the launch of Ford EcoSport back in 2013 changed the landscape of Indian automobile industry to such an extent that now every car manufacturer either has one or is trying to have an affordable / premium crossover. And since then there has been no turning back for Maruti Suzuki either, because subsequently they launched the highly successful Maruti Suzuki Brezza. So that's the introduction. Now let's begin with the back. This is where it looks the best from. The shape looks very European to me. Extremely discreet but sophisticated in its details. This also reminds me of a very certain German crossover, because there is less use of chrome, or rather no use of chrome, and also this combination of metal body and plastic cladding all goes really well together. Now these beautifully made lines are accentuated in the silver color, I would say. There is a history to this name, because globally it was called SX4 Cross, because essentially this was the second iteration to SX4, which was launched in India as well back in the late 2000s. Now coming to the side, this is where it begins to change a bit. The line starts tapering towards the front end and it begins to look more like a car. But the overall shape of this car reminds me of a grown-up estate, which is a good thing, because back in the day when this was launched in 2015, it was very different to the cars it was pitted against in the likes of Renault Duster and Nissan Terrano. Also what you can see is there is 180 mm of ground clearance. This is Zeta version, but yet you get a set of alloy wheels, electrically powered mirrors, censored door handles. So these are all good features to have at this price point. Coming to the front fascia of this car, Maruti launched a refreshed version of this in 2018. Personally, I like this one better, because the newer one tries to be like BMW X1 with the new color, the kidney grille and the headlamps. This one has got some uniqueness to it. It has got these twin chrome slats along with the Kizashi inspired headlamps. So it kind of reminds me of some Japanese aesthetics, which is very nice. Now it is often said that a door pad can make or break the interior. And why is that? I believe it is one of the most crucial components in car interiors, as the passengers are always in contact either with the door handles or the door pads or anything that has got to do with the door. Also, we are not going to review the interior quality of this with the likes of Hyundai Creta. As this is a review of a second-hand car, we are going to review it and compare it to the cars that will cost from 6.5 lakhs to 8.5 lakhs. Now, there is a flip side to using a Maruti Suzuki. These switches and knobs have been there since 3 generations. Also, you can find these door handles in a lot of Marutis like Dzire and Swift and so on. There is a decent size bottle holder. Now to me this all looks very functional and nicely put together. There is nothing spectacular, but what else do you expect in a Maruti Suzuki? By the way, this is not a dig at Maruti Suzuki, but it is what it is. Let's have a look at the boot, shall we? This opens up nice and big. It is heavy. As you can see, this is completely flat. There is no loading dip. Now a lot of cars would give you a lot more boot space, but for me personally, this is good enough for this price point. Again, what I can also say is it's a nicely shaped boot. It's rectangular. You have got a parcel tray. What you also get is a 60-40 split seats. What else do you need? This is great. Now let's begin with the front seat comfort. To start off, I love the seating position of this car. It is such an underrated quality about S-Cross. You're not required to stoop low like in some sedans, nor you have to make efforts to reach out to a seat like in some SUVs. The great thing about this car is how everything works in tandem. You have this beautifully built steering wheel with steering mounted controls. You have the stocks that are of decent plastic quality. You have a nice speedometer. You have a nice information display. There is a push start stop button over here. Now, one of the best things about the interior design of this is the placement of the touchscreen. It is so ergonomically well made. It is intuitive. It just feels second nature to me. Also, the climate control is simple to understand and easy to operate. You have the knobs, the quality of the knobs is decent. The touch and the feel of the buttons are very nice for this price point. The gearbox again is right in your hands. It is short, quick, precise. The glove box is nice and is decent size shape. Again, it's such a good quality. Again, one of the things that I like about this is, look at this. And this is what you call soft touch plastic. It is just so good in this. You have everything right in your hands. I can't believe how well made this is in terms of ergonomics. The whole cabin quality is really nice. Now for the price point. Again, you can do a lot of nitpicking with this, but I think this is just great. Now this car was made for the European market, and it just tells you how much more study they do for other markets than our markets, because you can feel the difference in this, unlike the Maruti Brezza. Now, getting in and out of this car is just so easy. You have one step and then you have the other step. There you go. As simple as that. Now, the door opens nice and big. You have a decent size bottle holder over here that can house 1 to 2 liter bottles. And as you can see, there is a lot of leg space. For your height reference, I am 5'6", but this is where S-Cross struggles a lot, because the under thigh support is not great. This is not a flat floor, so I would recommend only 2 adults and 1 kid. 3 adults cannot sit together, because again, this is a bit back, so there is a hump over here. And one of the biggest gripes I've got with this car is the reclining angle and the position of the headrest. It is just so bad. Let me show you. Backseat comfort is where the S-Cross struggles a bit, because the reclining angle is not that good. It is a bit stiff. And then what you have coupled with that is this headrest. The position of the headrest is a bit ahead. So when you're trying to relax, you just can't do it, because look at this. And I have done long distance traveling in this car before. and I've really not enjoyed it because of the seating position. So what you have is, you don't have good thigh support, you don't have good reclining angle, you don't have good position of the headrest. So essentially the back seat is not the best in this segment, but there is good interior space. You know, you have got an armrest which has got cubby holes. So that's it. I would ask them to work more on this. So there you go. Now let's talk about the driving dynamics of this car. I have already spoken about how good the interior layout is and how that complements the handling department of this car. So I'm going to begin with the ride quality. Now the suspension setup is on the firmer side. Now, as you may also know, having a firm suspension setup has its own advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is that it is extremely planted on the highways. It manages to smoothen out most of what our roads can throw at it, and only gets better as you go faster. Now sharp bumps will register a solid thud in the cabin for sure, but smaller irregularities get ironed out pretty easily. So you can chuck this car in corners and it will have minimal body roll. So for me, this feels more like a large hatchback than a crossover or an SUV. It feels to me like a grown up, a bigger version of Maruti Suzuki Swift. Now coming to the steering wheel. The steering wheel is light and precise, but there is a hint of vagueness in this, and the steering wheel gets exposed out on the highways. However, I just love driving this car. It is so light, it is so chuckable around the corners. So it is fine for me. Now coming to the engine, it has got a 1.3 litre multi-jet engine. Essentially it's a Fiat engine, which can be seen in a lot of Marutis, including Maruti Suzuki Ciaz. So it has got 89 bhp of power, it makes around 90 ps of power, 200 Nm of torque. Now there is an initial turbo lag in this, and you can feel a bit of vagueness in the initial acceleration, but once you pass that 1750 rpm, then it has got a good mid-range. Couple that with a good light steering wheel, it is really fun to drive. So, what are the bad points in this car? I can only think of two right now. The first one is a big one though. It is the resale value. One of the main reasons why I have been suggesting this car to everyone is because how affordable this car has become in the second-hand market. And that's down to one primary reason: the way this car looks. This car is not made for Indians. We Indians like botched up SUVs, we like a lot of chrome, a lot of bling. This car has got none of that. The second thing, which is the most important one, is the backseat comfort. Now, in spite of having good interior space, where it lacks is under thigh support. The reclining angle is not that good, and the placement of the headrest is at an awkward angle. So these are the 2 points. Now if you look at this car in a vacuum, there are no major flaws in it, and one of the main reasons why we as Indians buy a Maruti Suzuki is for its no-nonsense reliability. But if you couple that with the value for money this car provides, then this becomes a serial contender for just about anybody who's looking to buy a car within the range of 6 to 7.5 lakhs or even 8 lakhs. Where S-cross has edge over its rival, and even its smaller sibling Brezza, is in its premiumness, in the refinement, in the interior quality, in the ride quality, and few additional features that this car provides in the form of push start button, touchscreen infotainment display, steering mounted controls, climate control. So all these things you don't get in a smaller car at this price point. And as a result of this, then this becomes an undeniable all-rounder. There is a disclaimer though. You have got to be able to find a Maruti Suzuki S-cross in a good condition. So there you go. That is my verdict on Maruti Suzuki S-cross 2016.